Morocco, and fought against the Germans ground support, flying P-40s, close ground support, all the way across North Africa to to Egypt, up through Sicily and Pantelleria. By that time, 3 other squadrons were formed: the 301st, the 100th, and the 302nd. 25 pilots each squadron, and the mechanics and the whole shebang. By that time, the 99th went over with the 100th, the 301st, and 302nd to form the 332nd Fighter Group. When I got over there, all the 4 squadrons were at Ramitelli, Italy. The 99th had joined them, and they were flying P-51 Mustangs with the red tails. Red tails. In the movie, Fishburne told mechanic, "Oh, you got some extra paint? Paint the whole damn thing red." That's a lie. Because the tail of your plane is your air identification. When you meet the B-17s and B-24s, they see your red tail, they know you are the 332nd Fighter Group. If your tail is yellow, the 52nd Fighter Group. If it's checkerboard, then it's the 325th, a different group. Red tails were decided by the 15th Air Force, higher headquarters, rather than some guy tell a mechanic to paint it all red. I joined the 332nd Fighter Group in June '44. I graduated in January, and by the time June came along, I was overseas flying, escorting the B-17s and B-24s from Italy to Germany, Italy to Poland, Italy to Ploesti. If the B-17s had 25,000, we'd put 1 squadron in 26. B-17s could only do 160. If we did 160, we'd stall out. So to keep from stalling, we did 220. As they go along at 160, all 16 airplanes of the 99th at 26,000. They had 16 airplanes, 4, 8, 12, 16, spread out. And we put the 100th at 27. The 301st at 28. The 302nd at 29. Part of the reason why we have the myth that we never lost a bomber. That's a myth. I was on a research team. We did lose bombers. Darn few. We went to Maxwell Field, and we found records that we lost maybe 25 or 30 during the whole war. The other groups, the 3 other white groups, lost a hell of a lot more. I made 18 long-range missions from Ramitelli, Italy, to Germany. My 19th mission, where I got shot down, strafing. I tried to explain this. We were to destroy radar stations on the coast of southern France, outside the city of Toulon, right on the water. These radar stations were on a cliff, right on the water. 301st Fighter Squadron. We approached we came in at 15,000 feet. We had four flights. We were called Bubble. Our call sign was Bubble. Bubble red, Bubble white, Bubble yellow, Bubble blue. This is how we talk to each other. If you wanted to find the leader of Bubble red 1, Bubble red 2, Bubble red 3, Bubble red 4, red, white, Bubble white 1, 2, 3, 4, Bubble yellow 1, 2, 3, 4, Bubble blue 1, 2, 3, 4. And who in the heck is Bubble blue 4? 4, 8, 12. What position am I? 4, 8, 12, what? 16. I'm tailing Charlie. I'm the last guy to go across the target. We came in red, white, yellow, blue. 15,000 feet. It's about 250 miles an hour. And when red banks over, they start in, quite naturally, you shove everything to the wall, pick up speed, and by the time you go across the target, you're doing about 450 miles an hour. Everything's in the red. Oil pressure, heat temperature, the whole shebang. Red starts in, and as you get halfway to the target, the whole side of the target opens up. You see this darn stuff coming back at you. They get through, red, white gets through, and the radio's going about this, 20 millimeter, 30 millimeter, it's all coming back at you. By the time red, white, yellow, blue. And we start in, and I bank over, I get halfway to the target, picking up speed, I look off to the right, and I can see red, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see number 2, Danny, Bob Daniels. I see he got hit. As I'm halfway to the target, black smoke is coming out, and he's going to the side. I aim up at the target, tall, but radar. Oh, by the way, we didn't know what the hell radar was. This is 1944. Simply some tall towers and some buildings. I get about 2,000 yards out. I start firing on the trigger, and the guns fire. I look up ahead. The whole side of the cliff is firing back. I can see the stuff coming back. I go right across the top of the target, and something says, boom! I look up, there's a hole in the top of the canopy. Fire comes up out of the floor. Got heavy gloves, covered with oxygen mask. I'm covered. But hell, the damn fire got hot. And out of all the 9 months of training, we never had 1 minute on how to get out of an airplane. Because the war is going on. Things are fast. Kids ask, well, Miss Jefferson, what'd you do? I said, I'm treetop height. Literally, treetop. Pull back on the sticks, get some altitude. And as you go up, you reach up on the right, pull the lever, and the whole canopy goes off. With your left hand, you got a little wheel down here as you run it forward, which means automatically the nose goes down. Well, I pull that son of a gun up anyway. Now, I don't know how high I got. It got hot. I had to get out. Turn the stick loose. When you do that, the nose pops. Same way, when you're in your automobile and you turn a corner, you turn the wheel loose, what does the car do? Straightens up. Well, I pull that sucker up here and pull it up anyway, and turn the stick loose, and the nose dropped. When it dropped abruptly, straps here with a big buckle. You do that, they all come loose. These straps here, they come loose. Well, when the nose popped, boom, I came out. I remember coming out and watching the tail go by with all that fire. And normally, when you bail out, you go 1, 2, 3, then you pull the D ring. You got a big ring here with a cable. See, I'm sitting on the parachute. It's a cushion underneath me. You pull this, and the cable goes round, and the parachute opens. When I came out, I looked down, doggone trees. I said, oh. I pulled that sucker real fast. I remember looking at it and said, oh, I bought the farm. Bang! Parachute pop. I'm in the trees. Number 1 and number 2, they got through. They looked back and they saw my airplane go in. Didn't see me get out. So when they got back to the squadron, they reported me KIA. My parents got a KIA telegram. I'm in the trees trying to get loose. I got bruises, no broken bones, scratches, bruises. And I hear this guy, Oxo, yeah. I said, oh, hell, you got me. I could look at his face and see the consternation. He said, "Does it say, what the hell is it?" They went out, and by the way, Robert Daniels put it down in the water. He was afraid to bail out. And the Germans went out and picked him up, brought him back. The Germans, Bob Daniels and I, traveled up the Rhone Valley from Toulon, southern France, up the Rhone Valley to Frankfurt on the Main, where we were interrogated. Walked in, there's a lot to... Folks, I'm like a mosquito at a nudist colony. I got so much to cover. I'm skipping around. Frankfurt on the Main. We were interrogated. After we got there, there's another story about that. After meals, walked in. The guy spoke perfect English. Had a big book. I looked over, it said Negroes, 332nd Fighter Group. He opened it, and as he thumbed through it, I saw all these pictures. Every month, when we had a graduating class, you take a picture. I see all these pictures of my former classmates. I knew every one of them. Finally, he got to a page that says, "Lieutenant, isn't that you?" This is my graduation picture. They knew I graduated from Chadsey High School, 1938. Knew I came out of Clark College, had all my marks. Howard University, had all my marks. They even knew how much taxes my dad paid on his house. By the way, I lived on 28th, right off Michigan Avenue. They knew more about me than I knew about myself. I'm 22. I didn't know how much taxes my dad paid on his house. I eventually ended up Stalag Luft 3. Stalag means camp. Luft means air. Luftwaffe. Waffe means army. Luftwaffe, air army. Stalag is camp, controlled by the Luftwaffe. Democratically more lenient than the SS, the Secret Service, or the Wehrmacht, the army. I was at a place where you saw the movie The Great Escape, where the guys went out to the tunnel. I was number 4, black. 10,000 white officers shot down over German-occupied territory. Every time a B-17 went down, 4 officers, pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier. We lost more than 5,000 B-17s in Europe. The cost of the war is horrendous. I was treated as an officer and a gentleman. No beatings, no torture. Hell, the United States and Germany, England and France sat down in 1939 and signed the Geneva Convention, which denotes how you treat POWs. You put the officers in the camp, do not make them work. I set the war up. You put the enlisted men in a camp, you can make them work. I had kids look at me and say, "Well, Miss Jefferson, McCain, they beat McCain." I said, "Hell yes." Where was he? Far East. Japanese would commit suicide before they surrendered. And if they captured you, they treated you like a dog because you're supposed to kill yourself. Vietnamese, same way. I was there in Stalag Luft 4, Solid 3, for 4 months, 5 months. From August 44 to February 45, when the Russians started coming in from the east. And the Germans moved us to Stalag 7A, near Munich. we didn't want to be recaptured by the Russians either. This is when I found about ethnic hatred. German guards with the old men, white hair. They were terrified of the Russians. They didn't want to go back to the Eastern Front. Then I found out how Russians hate Germans. Germans hate Austrians. Austrians hate the French hate the Greeks hate that whole Middle Eastern cauldron. It's burning. I was liberated, got to Salag 7A. I was liberated in April 45 by General Patton's Third Army. While waiting for transfer to Le Havre, somebody said, there's a place down there with a lot of dead people. What the hell are you talking about? They got dead people down there stacked up like cordwood. So we got a Jeep, had to find out what the hell it was. You could smell it a mile before you got to it. Ovens are still warm, where they were burning bodies. Dachau. I saw Dachau 2 days after Americans liberated. Ovens are still warm. Thousands of dead bodies. Tables long from here to Arc, covered with hair. Because before you burn the bodies, had somebody with a pair of pliers, clippers, cutting off the hair. You use the hair for seat cushions. Table long from here to Brown, covered with dentures. Somebody with a pair of pliers putting out the gold in amalgam. And somebody had to tell me, well, you know, Mr. Jefferson, the Holocaust is a hoax. Then I have to cuss. Same time, I have to tell young black people what's going on in the Congo, what happened in Rwanda, ethnic hatred, what's going on today in Egypt. Why did Iraq fight Iran for 8 years? And they used gas on each other. Ethnic hatred. Iraq was Sunni. Iran is what? Shia.
They both hate the Kurds.
By the way, if you do not know the difference, you're a dum-dum. Don't sit here fat, dumb, and happy. If you don't realize what's going on today in this world, ethnic hatred, what's going on in Egypt with the Christians and the Muslims, they're catching hell. But that's another story. Came back, crossed the Atlantic on a boat, came to the harbor of New York, flags waving, Statue of Liberty, and going down the gangplank, the white soldier at the bottom, greeting me after POW life, whites to the right and niggers to the left. Damn it, coming back home. I came back to racism. That's what Hardy and I were talking about. Right here in the city of Detroit. Couldn't buy a house on Outer Drive. Restaurant downtown, blacks couldn't go to. I became, as the rest of it, Ernie Brown, by the way, Tuskegee Airmen, we were all part of the civil rights movement. We were in it, above our eyeballs. Because of Tuskegee Airmen, in World War II, not only Tuskegee Airmen, but black men as Marines, Navy, Coast Guard. No black officers in the Navy until 1945. You could be black, you could be a steward or cook. No black officers in the Marines until 1952. Mumford Point, segregated out on the side of Camp Lejeune. All of our efforts, black men and women, together gave old man Truman the guts to pick up his pen and sign Executive Order 9981. They desegregated the military. Now, if you desegregate the military in 1948, what happened in 54? You desegregate your schools. See what's happening? And lo and behold, Johnson, 1995, again. Things move because people become involved. Things are still moving, folks. We still have it. We got a black president, but I got news for you. Racism is still here. It's bulging downtown Detroit. Oh hell, don't let me go. We're still involved, even today. We talk about the so-called good old days. In a way, I don't know. Where do we go from here? I don't know. We're still involved. Before I leave, present-day Tuskegee Airmen, president of the Detroit chapter, Art Green, we stand. This is why we're still together. The Detroit chapter was the first chapter of Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated. And this man is keeping the tradition going. Good deal. Larry Sargent, Larry Milben, Bert Lowe, last of all, Charlie Bray. Don't mind me, I get...
Dennis is back there someplace.
Where's Dennis? Oh, Dennis Mills. These are guys who are still keeping the tradition going today in the city of Detroit. Give them a hand. Now, I've rambled on and on and on. I told you I'm like a mosquito. I had to pick here, pick here, pick. I didn't cover everything. I know I didn't. I'm going to throw it open for Q&A. Questions and answers. I think I'm through, and so be it. Thank you. Q&A. Yes, holler it out. I got bad hearing.
Hi, Penny Bailey.
Oh, Penny. Yes, Penny, how you doing? Golly.
And today is Kermit, my late husband Kermit's birthday.
Yes.
April 17th, was born on 30th Street between Milford and Cobb, and you guys were Tuskegee Airmen together. And he told me the story that I thought was the most shocking thing I'd ever heard. That the officers couldn't get into the officers club, the black officers couldn't get into the officers club, but the German prisoners of war could go into the PX.
That's right.
I thought that was the most horrifying thing I
That's right.
could ever hear. But I'm so proud of you, and I love you.
Penny. Question? Yeah.
Yes, sir. What was the interaction between you and your fellow prisoners of war, the American other prisoners?
Good buddies.
That's right.
Yeah. I was a POW in my room. There were 9 other guys. Well, very great. I was accepted. They saw the wings and the bars. You're a fighter pilot. Yeah.
Tell them how you got selected to be there.
Okay. There were about 150 men collected by the Germans into Stalag 3. And every room was crowded. So they took out the double bunk. There were double bunks. They took out the double bunk and put in a triple bunk to take up an extra man. So a guy from each room came out. We're all lined up, about 150 of us, to pick out the guy going into that room. I'm standing there with about 150 other guys. I'm the only black. And down the aisles, he came. Long, tall hillbilly. By cracky, I think I'll take this boy. said, oh, shit. Standing right behind him is a senior American officer, colonel. You see the little chicken on his collar? And the colonel looks at me and says, Lieutenant? Yes, sir. You go with him. Yes, sir. I'm going behind this tall hillbilly. Come on, boy, follow me. I said, oh, here I go again. I get to the room, and the 9 other guys there. Hey, buddy, how you doing? I said, what the hell's going on? Okay, good, good, good. So we settle down. Everything's great. And the next day, I find out why. Security. They had security, and all the German guards were gone. And the guy pulls the post of the bed. The post was a 4x4. It opens up, and he pulled out passports. The other guy pulls out something, and they start drawing and making passports. Why I was chosen? The Germans had been trying to find this room where they were making the false passports for the guys who were escaping. Why they chose me? They knew who in the hell I was.
Okay.
They didn't want a German getting into that room. All this, they were making false buttons for the clothing, more passports. In other words, I was safe. They knew exactly who I happened to be. That's how I got into that room.
You were American.
Yeah. Question, yes.
It was interesting. I watched the movie Red Tail, and I wasn't enthralled by it either. But I thought before they did the movie, they talked about consulting with some of the Tuskegee Airmen
Yeah.
in making it. And I wonder why they didn't do that. And it seems like the truth, if had been told, would have been more enthralling, would have been more interesting than what the story that they did tell. Why was it told that?
Forget about it. Lucas made money.
Hollywood never lets facts get in the way of a good story.
On television, you write a story. Everything you see on TV is written. They wrote a story about Tuskegee Airmen. They made up their own plot. No big deal. Yeah.
Before Kermit died, we saw the HBO movie.
Ah.
Now that, he said, was just pitch perfect right
Yes.
in tone. He said there were just a couple of errors, factual errors,
Yeah.
but he thought they really got it right.
Because that story was written by a Tuskegee Airman.
And you can get it on HBO, you
Yeah.
can get it, you can order the DVDs.
That's right.
It's an excellent, excellent.
Well, what
That's right.
Colonel Hoskins had said to me was there was one problem with that.
What's that?
What color was Ben Davis?
What-
Ben Davis, wasn't he a little lighter than who played him in that movie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ben Davis, light skin.
Right.
Tall, ramrod, disciplinarian. When he told you to be at his office at 9 o'clock, you don't walk into his office at 9 o'clock. You walk in at 8:45. Discipline. He's the guy that went to West Point, 4 years at West Point, and nobody spoke to him unless it was official. They silenced him, trying to get him to quit. And he still finished number 17 in a class of 500. That's Ben Menal Davis. Another question. Oh, here's one. Here's one.
Where?
Holler it out loud,
Here
please.
you are, sweetie. Speak in.
Did they have to cut their hair off before? Their head off before they got the hair.
What did he say? I got the hair.
Did they amputate the guys before they cut the hair of the prisoners?
Oh, those are dead people.
Yeah.
And Dachau. You have to explain to him Dachau and why they were killing Jews. And see, that's another thing young people have to understand. They were using the hair for seat cushions.
They did cut the heads off.
Yeah. Any other questions?